Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Excited we are back with Dr. Tom Walsh, our Professional of the Year. He's a veterinarian based out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and he really specializes in helping small animals with physical therapies and, of course, helping them get better. And there's so much to physical therapy in animals, which I'm learning, and it's fascinating that, this is what you do because you're the first person I ever spoke to who does this for animals. I know plenty of physical therapists who work on humans, so you're blessed with an amazing niche and you're helping so many pets and their pet owners. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jill. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Well, just tell us a little overview about PrimePet Rehab and specifically about this type of therapy that you do before we start. By the way, today's conversation, in just a few moments, we will be talking about neurological conditions in dogs. So please listen up. I'm sure a lot of you are pet owners out there, and this information could be very vital and valuable to you.
Perfect. Yes. PrimePet Rehab actually started during COVID because I was going stir crazy and I wanted to do something to help heal some animals and heal my mind. So I started a mobile service that went around to local veterinarians that their buildings were empty. We were having to treat animals, go get them in the car and bring them in. And so I talked to several vets. They had me started up, and that's how PrimePet began. We just celebrated 2 years in our own building, and so it's really grown. We've gone from seeing roughly 10 to 12 patients a week to now we average about 25 a day.
Impressive. And I'm clearly, just by talking to you, he's an amazing person, clearly passionate about helping people and their owners and all sorts of animals. So let's get into the niche for today. I mean, this is something serious because I want to know a little bit about, first of all, I know the COVID, but what really inspired you to go down this path of, a physical therapy for animals? Because it's something here in New York that I never knew about.
Sure. The physical therapy for animals is it's an up and growing niche in veterinary medicine. We actually have known about it for about 20 years, but it hasn't really taken the same stance as mainstream medicine, if you will, or traditional medicine. It was often thrown into the same category as alternative medicine, which it is in a certain degree. But I think a lot of things have come around as far as research has gone. Certainly a lot of research that has come out of Europe that has exemplified the healing benefits of things like laser therapy and actually how it actually can interact with traditional medicine. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's growing so quickly. In addition to the fact that most folks who have animals are often at this age getting older, and they may have known somebody or they have gone through physical therapy themselves. So it has gone through a situation where it was fringe and, oh yeah, I might have considered that one time to, oh yeah, I had that on my knee replacement surgery. I had to do that. I want the same for my animal.
Wow. Thank you. And I love that you're here doing this and shining through. And, PrimePet Rehab, how does it help, especially dogs with conditions like arthritis and neurological disorders? And by the way, if you missed last week's conversation, you need to listen to it or watch it. Do you have it up on your website as well yet?
I do.
Perfect. You can watch it there. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, this, please.
Sure. So common conditions that physical therapists treat are everything that a human physical therapist would do for you. So we look at things like body movement and stance and balance and strength and all of those things. I guess one of the scariest things is one of the things we're talking about today is neurological diseases. Just like it is in humans, it's a very confusing and difficult thing to deal with. You may have known folks that have had multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, sciatic nerve pain, even at a basic level. A lot of people have that. And it's hard because what we describe about these conditions when we're describing it to our doctors and our therapists is a variety of pain symptoms. And So we all feel that a little bit differently. So we could probably list off right now 10 or 15 ways of feeling pain, everything from emotional pain to slamming your finger in a door. You know that there's a wide range. Animals can't tell us these
Wow.
things. So what we're
No.
able to do is we're able to really dial it in and kind of reverse engineer, if you will, look at the symptoms and then start to work with them on how to get them to where they feel more comfortable again, if possible. I will tell you that, as far as neurological diseases go, if I could replicate it and do it the same for every animal, I would have a Nobel Prize because we can't even do that in human medicine. So
Yeah.
what you have to do is you have to really be communicative with your owners. You have to let them know that this is not a cookie cutter. Oh, we're going to plug it in and we're going to know what we're going to do is we're going to do our treatments. We are going to read the animal and we're going to communicate as much as we can. And so that has really been my formula for success when it comes to these situations.
Got it. Well, thank you for that. And also for today, let's talk about maybe some of the most common neurological conditions seen in dogs and how they affect mobility.
Sure. I'm going to throw some doctor words out there for you, but things like intervertebral disc disease or IVDD. We also have degenerative myelopathy. We have peripheral neuropathies. All of these things are common in dogs, mostly. Cats are less. They have neurological disease like saddle thrombus and that sort of thing. So there's a number of different conditions that are independent for species. However, what you as owners need to know is you need to know that if my animal is having difficulty moving and it looks almost like a drunken sailor, or there's no rhyme or reason to what we call a taxi or stumbling around, or they're running into things, falling off of things, and this is a relatively new thing, you need to seek help immediately because we need to really get a handle on these conditions very quickly.
And, just also as a pet owner, what are some of the signs that something's going wrong? Is it how they're moving slower or, let's talk about some of those signs and what we're able to see to help us know, hey, something's not right.
It's a great question. Neurologic pain is in our world, it's very often offset by an acute pain of, oh goodness, this really hurts, and oh wow, it's shooting down my leg, and we go seek help for that. In animals, it is more often more of the lack of feeling, so
Yeah.
a loss of feeling or numbness, which causes them to do things like drag their paws, especially in the hind end. In the front end, if you think about it, four-legged animals never look at their hind end to see where they're walking.
Yeah.
So they actually walk by a series of a dual set of senses. One is visual proprioception. So they see something come up and they lift their paw appropriately. And then naturally, if I'm going to lift my paw that much for the front
Yeah.
legs, it'll do it for the back legs. Okay. But if by chance they miss it, they use a second thing, and it's called tactile proprioception, which means they feel it on the front end of their paw, which causes the other paw to lift even higher so they
Yeah.
don't drag across two things. So, this is why you'll often see animals that are going over a little curb or something like that. They'll go up with their front feet and hop with their back feet. They're compensating
Aw.
to say, "Hey, I can get up over that."
Yeah.
Well, when we start losing neurologic feeling, those signals to the rear legs are often compromised first. And we see this, it starts as subtly as the middle two toes, especially on a dog, the middle two toes on the back will actually get worn down
Okay.
faster. So their toenails, if you're looking at their feet, their hind limbs, and you see that the middle two toes on both feet are very close to the edge, and then the other ones have some growth on them, there's a reason. They're actually dragging their paws. There's something that's causing them to not raise their paw high enough to clear that. So we see little things like that, and then it can progress into, I think I mentioned earlier, the like drunken sailor type gait, to where their back end is falling all around, and they are struggling to try to find that level of balance and that sort of thing. You have cats, and
Yeah.
one of the conditions that a cat can get is called saddle thrombus, and
Oh.
it's basically an embolism that goes to a specific part of the blood supply along the spinal cord, which when an embolism hits there, it blocks the neural pathways and basically shuts down the cat's back end. And owners will describe this as the cat was walking along or got up from a nap, and all of a sudden it couldn't use its back legs, and it was just
Ah,
dragging them along. It's very shocking,
yeah.
and so thankfully it's things like that that we can come back from. But the neurological, I would say, probably of all of the things that we treat at Prime Pet Rehab, neurological are probably the scariest for owners, because usually, even though signs may have been coming for a bit, it's usually an acute sign. They try to go get out of the car and fall down, and they can't get back up, or uh, they start soiling
Ah,
themselves in the middle of the night. And it's those kind of things set off alarm bells in owners' minds. And unfortunately, it's a tough road. I will say that neurological cases are probably some of the most challenging.
yeah, I'm sure. Well, I love your expertise. I love all this information. It's helping pet owners all over the world right now that are listening today. So let's, we talked about some of the signs, but how do we really know the difference if it's arthritis related mobility issues or neurological mobility issues? Could you kind of explain that to us? I mean, I'm sure we may not know, but you could figure that out for us to help us with our lovely pets.
For sure. It's very important to try to figure this out, and often it's you need the help of a professional. What the reason that is because from a simple standpoint, when you lose neurologic function or even it's diminished, let's just say it's not completely gone.
Yeah.
That means that the muscles those nerves are activating are not properly firing, which very often we see in the form of like muscle wasting, or they start to, like, one leg. You'll look at a Labrador or whatever walking, and one side of the hip will be not as round as the other side.
Okay.
And so that can be a sign. These are It's really hard to determine from that moment, unless you do a neurologic exam,
Yeah.
whether or not that is due to arthritis and pain, hip dysplasia, whatever, versus can he feel his feet. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a big deal. So I would recommend, of course, any sort of mobility issues at all. Just play it safe. Go talk to your veterinarian. Go talk to a physical therapist. Any sort of mobility issues at all, you really need to be on top of those, because so often, we can do some great things with these things if we catch it early enough. If it goes a lot longer, it's a lot harder to recover from it.
Got it. Amazing. Well, also, there's some case studies where I think that you want to share with the team here, with everyone listening today about, some instances where you've actually treated a dog. And I want to hear, the process, what's happened, how you've helped the dog, and
Of
would
course.
love all the specifics. And the
Yeah.
doggy's name, or if
Of
there's more
course.
than one. Thank
Of
you.
course. Yeah, I've got like quite a few, but I'll have to pick one that was very special. Um, this dog's name is Moon, and she is a yellow lab. And quite simply, I think Friday afternoon, she was acting pretty tired and had to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and was whining. And the owner found that that was really odd and unusual. She's I think was 5 years old, and um, but came back in, and the dog seemed to be a little disoriented. But it's the middle of the night. They kind of said, "Well, we'll just deal with it in the morning, see what's up." Got up the next morning. Moon was still in her bed, and they called her. And she's a very high energy yellow lab, and she just whined and wouldn't get up. And they tried to stand her up. She couldn't
Wow.
stand. So this was a disease called fibrocartilaginous embolism. So this
Oh,
is
wow.
a similar thing to the saddle thrombus that I described in cats, but it's a similar injury in dogs that a blood clot happens on the spinal cord, usually near the hind limbs, and it shuts off all forms of feeling back there, including they can't control
Yeah.
their urinary or fecal incontinence. They are just incapacitated back there instantly.
Yeah. Oh my
It
gosh.
usually develops over about I'd say a 4 to 12 hour period, and so you
Okay.
see owners will report, "Oh gosh, this dog's going downhill quickly. I don't know what's going on. Did they get into something?
Yeah.
Is there a snake bite? All kinds of things in their mind." So Moon was brought to me, and quite frankly, the owners were not in a position to go with an MRI. MRIs very often are, $2,500, $3,500, and they just couldn't pursue that. They were
Oh.
really worried about having to put Moon down,
Oh.
and so I talked them through it, and I said, not knowing at the time whether or not it was a fully blown disc or whether we had another problem or whether maybe it was this FCE. And so again, a high degree of communication. I laid out the stakes for them, and they said, "Well, we're willing to try it this way." We started seeing Moon. We got her a harness. That's very important in neurological diseases because if, as you're trying to rebuild strength in the hind end, it's very helpful to have a handle back there as an owner instead of trying to scoop them up with your hands or a towel or something like that. So a handle as a harness is a really good thing. So we got her a harness. We were working with her twice a week for about 4.5 weeks, and um, I'll never forget it. She got out of the her car. Her dad got her out of the car. Normally had to help her out every time. And right her for her session starting that fourth week, she got out herself. And so she was back up to standing and walking, and of course doing yellow lab things, wanting to do a lot of things faster than I wanted her to do it, but that's okay. The one of the reasons Moon is so special is because uh, until you made it Moon's idea to do anything, she wasn't going to do it. And she's about a 70-pound lab, so she could sit there and say, "I'm not doing this." We worked through it. We got her over past that. We encouraged her a number of different ways to get, food motivation and praise and that sort of thing. It really turned out to be an amazing story because Moon is now back on the farm, running and enjoying her life. She doesn't have a pretty Westminster gait, she's not going to win any show competitions, but she has regained completely her function. She's not hurting herself, she's not compensating, and she's super strong. She does everything her brothers and sisters do. So it's stories like that make you never give up hope. I never give up hope on any animal, and we just keep working, and we deal with it as it comes.
Beautiful story. Oh my goodness. Ah, all right. What else did you want to discuss? Oh my goodness, this is awesome. We're going to talk
Um,
more about some, the outcomes and treatments and rehabilitation approaches as well, rehabilitation approaches too.
mhm. Yes, for sure. So one of the ways that people often ask me, especially as we're going through this, is what exactly are you using to help this process? And really, it's not one thing, it's a combination of a bunch of things. And the combination is you need to reduce inflammation at a cellular level. So I use a laser to do that. I love my laser. It's small and compact, but very powerful, which means I can do things over range of motion, which is a huge advantage. And then I also add ice to that because that actually reduces inflammation in the tissues around it as well. And then usually they are hooked up to pulsed electromagnetic frequency. PMF is a commonly used thing in Europe, and it's starting to gain some attraction here in the United States. But really, what it is it's an electromagnetic wave that you can't hear or see or feel, but yet it communicates on the level of the cell to fool the cell by the way it's tuned into healing itself. And it's not a magic situation to where if you broke your leg, you could just put it on this PMF mat and then all of a sudden it would be healed again. It wouldn't be quite like that. But what it does is it does set the groundwork to really improve the efficacy of the laser and other things that I do. But finally, one of the things that you add to this mix, especially with neurological dogs, is you know what a TENS unit is like. You've probably used a TENS unit or
I've actually talked to the guy Norm Healy. What's his name? The one who actually invented it a
yeah,
few years ago. Norm Healy. He was on our show. He had his podcast here with us. I was fascinated by him.
yeah. So that is you're using current to motivate a group of muscles. So you're actually targeting a group of muscles. Let's say it's your bicep, and you put the leads below and above your bicep, and it runs the electrical current to mimic what the nerves would normally do to flex that, and it artificially flexes that sort of thing. If you take that down to microamps, so much lower power, you can actually target nerves. And you're actually basically saying, okay, nerve over here that you don't feel, this connection over here, the brain would
Yeah.
normally be sending a connection between you two. So let's fire both of these and you guys figure out a way to make a connection. Now, I know that sounds a little out there, but in reality, the body is very resilient. Think about this. You know, folks that have been in car accidents and they've got massive scars, right?
Yeah.
So they've got a scar, let's say on their leg. They broke their leg. It's a massive scar. It took up a lot of tissue and they don't have a lot of feeling in there, right? Okay. But yet they can still walk properly and they
Yeah.
can still feel their feet. The reason that is because many of the nerve endings that were sacrificed find another way around to communicate with the brain.
Wow.
And we are working in those same avenues to try to connect it. And I use almost identical approaches with all of my animals, and I get all sorts of varying results. And I wish that I could dial it in to make it more consistent. But again, that goes back to the where we are in human medicine. In human medicine, for example, they have microneural surgeries to where they are doctors are actually operating in the operating room, for example, on a hand that
Yeah.
has been severely badly burned, and you want to reconnect neural pathways. They're working with a microscope, microneural surgery,
Wow.
super small. We don't have that ability in dogs.
Yeah.
And even in the human space, it's only successful about 50 or 60% of the time. So again, this is how complicated it is. I love the body. I love how it is so resilient and it wants to fight to try to figure out the way these things work. And animals respond to this. Now, here's a really cool fact, Jill, is if we lose sensation in our foot, it's very difficult for us to walk. Okay.
Yes.
Balance, because we are bipeds, we're on two legs. Four-legged animals are always transferring weight side to side and front to back whenever they're moving. So I really don't care on my neurological dogs if I can get them to feel their paws. I'm
Wow.
actually aiming a little bit higher to where if I can get repetitive neural stimulation on their thighs and their calves or stifles area, on those areas, if I can do that, I can actually get them to lift their leg high enough to where they won't scrape their legs, their paws. And so again, it may not be a perfect gait, but it's to them, they're living, they're doing what they want to do. They're enjoying their life. They're getting out of bed. They're going to the potty. They're going on walks with mom and dad. And it's phenomenal. It really is overwhelming when you see an animal that you've had to carry into your office, and 4, 6, 10 weeks, whatever later, that animal is running around your office chasing a ball. It's just unbelievable.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing because this is helping so many animals. And if you are tuning in just a little late here, just want to remind everyone who we're speaking with, Dr. Tom Walsh. He's a veterinarian specializing in physical therapy of small pets based out of Myrtle Beach. The name of the company, PrimePet Rehab. And we have just a few more minutes left, so let's just try, if you don't mind. We'll get through a few more. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that the key factors for your owners to take away is pay attention to their animal. It's not normal for them to not have good balance. God
Yep.
bless them with excellent balance coming
Yep.
right out of the gate. Work on, if you see something, be on high alert to where you can take it to your owner, and much better to be safe than sorry in these kind of situations. Also, if your animal does come with a neurological difficulty, you need to realize that no matter what Dr. Google says, it is very important for you to communicate with a professional, because all hope may not be lost. You need to really explore this. I've got probably 8 or 10 dogs in wheelchairs right now in my office. I've
Oh,
got cats that have mystery ailments. Even the neurologists with MRIs, we can't figure out why this cat is having balance problems in its hind limbs. But through our efforts, we're slowly rebuilding it. So again, find yourself a professional that's willing to go the extra mile, trying to find out what exactly we're doing. And we may not even know the answer of how it was affected, but the
yeah.
repetition and the care that you can take can make a difference.
And of course, we're talking the diet, exercise, lifestyle. All this does contribute to a dog's mobility, overall health. That's super important too, right? This preventative
Oh, for
care
sure. Yeah,
and
you cannot.
being educated. Yes.
Yeah, you can't separate them. Remember, they are a product of all of those factors: environment, enrichment, what their mind does, exercise, nutrition, what we put in their bodies, and then what their role is in the family. So all of those things are a key. And feel free to check out the Carenza approach. That's Carenza with Coerenza. It's another. That's kind of my philosophy on how I treat animals, and I'm teaching other professionals how to approach this the same way. It's a way to look at the entire process and in a way that's healthy for the animals, that hopefully we can keep them on less drugs, more mobility, and a better quality of life.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Tom.
Thank you so much, y'all. Appreciate it.
Now, tell us how we can get in touch with Prime Pet Rehab if you do need help for your pet.
Sure. If you're in the Myrtle Beach or South Carolina area, Prime Pet Rehab, we are in Myrtle Beach proper, and it is primepetrehab.com. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. If you squish Prime and Pet together when you're searching, and just look for a blue dog that has a green circle around it. That's our logo, and you will be able to find us. And we're looking forward to helping anybody we can.
Great. Thank you so much. Great conversation. And looking forward to our next time we get together. We'll be talking about geriatric dogs, I believe, right? That'll be our next show.
That's right.
All right. Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. Have a fantastic day. And good luck with all those doggies and kitty cats in the office today. And thank you for doing what you do. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jill. Have a great day.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.